On April 3, 2026, a 7,000-ton machine slipped beneath the waves off the eastern coast of India and vanished. No cameras recorded it, and no coordinates were shared. That disappearance is exactly the point. You are not supposed to find her. India spent 56 years building an undetectable sea-based nuclear strike force, operating in absolute secrecy. This map shows the Bay of Bengal in December 1971. India is 2 weeks into a war to liberate Bangladesh. The United States, allied with Pakistan, decides to intimidate India by sending the USS Enterprise, a 75,000-ton nuclear-powered carrier equipped with 70 combat aircraft. You can see the American carrier group icon moving directly toward India's coastline. India had no answer for that carrier group. No ship or weapon could stop it. The tide only turned when the Soviet Union sent 2 nuclear attack submarines to shadow the Enterprise. Unwilling to risk an underwater confrontation, the American fleet pulled back. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi watched the most powerful navy on Earth retreat because of a threat it couldn't see. That image stayed with her. She decided that if invisible machines could check a superpower, India needed its own silent fleet. That realization launched a 56-year mission to build an undetectable sea-based nuclear deterrent, a project that would become one of the most secretive engineering sagas of the century. To understand the scale of this challenge, look at this diagram. On the left is a standard land-based nuclear reactor. It spans acres of concrete and is serviced by hundreds of engineers. Now watch as it morphs into the right side of the screen. Scientists had to compress that same power output into a sealed steel box about 20 feet across. Once inside the submarine hull, this tiny reactor has to run continuously for months. It must operate without maintenance or radiation leaks, while 100 sailors sleep barely 30 feet from the active core. Most importantly, it must run in total silence, because a submarine that makes noise is a submarine that gets found. India's nuclear scientists at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center spent a decade hitting technical dead ends. The Navy rejected their first design in 1976 for lack of power. They rejected the 1979 redesign for safety problems. By 1981, a third attempt was found to have 14 separate deficiencies. After 10 years, the team had no working prototype. These were the same brilliant minds who had built India's nuclear weapons, but the engineering required for an underwater power plant was different. A land-based reactor and a submarine core are entirely separate challenges, and by the early 80s, India still hadn't crossed the gap. With the domestic program failing, an Indian delegation flew to Moscow. During a formal dinner, the commander of the Soviet Navy reached into his jacket, pulled out a small toy model of a Charlie-class submarine, and placed it on the table. He asked if this was what they wanted. The Indians said yes. In 1988, a leased Soviet submarine arrived in India, rechristened as the INS Chakra. For 3 years, Indian sailors lived inside a nuclear machine, sailing 72,000 miles and running the reactor for over 400 days. No textbook could teach what they learned by living with a nuclear core humming through the walls. But operating a borrowed machine didn't solve the manufacturing crisis at home. The secret Advanced Technology Vessel program struggled to produce the high-grade alloy needed for the hull. Under the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, the steel plates kept cracking at the welds. The supply chain was also non-existent. While India had reactors and uranium, it lacked the specific enrichment infrastructure required to produce the compact, highly concentrated fuel needed for a submarine's small core. The project nearly died in 1991 when the Soviet Union collapsed. The stream of technical help stopped instantly, and the program was eventually frozen under intense international pressure. By 1996, India had a half-built hull in an underground dock and a reactor design that still wasn't proven. The momentum shifted in May 1998 when India detonated 5 nuclear devices in the Pokhran Desert. Global sanctions followed, but the tests forced a critical strategic question. If India was now a declared nuclear power, how could it guarantee those weapons survived a first strike? Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee revived the program with a new urgency. Ironically, the sanctions meant to punish India forced its engineers to build every component themselves. The isolation became the catalyst for the country to finally master the technology independently. On November 11, 2003, A submarine reactor installed inside a test hull at Kalpakkam went critical for the first time. It was the result of 27 years of work by scientists who had spent their entire careers on this single problem. This success led directly to the 2016 commissioning of INS Arihant, India's first indigenous nuclear submarine. This vessel's primary strength is its K-series missiles, nuclear-armed ballistic weapons named after APJ Abdul Kalam. As the missile man of India, Kalam personally cut the first steel plate for the submarine's hull, beginning the physical construction of the silent fleet. With these missiles, India completed its nuclear triad, a three-pronged delivery system consisting of land missiles, aircraft, and submarines. This diagram shows why the submarine leg is vital. You can find a missile silo from space and track a bomber on radar, but a submarine running silent at 300 feet is effectively invisible. To make this deterrent credible, India must maintain continuous at-sea deterrence. Because boats need maintenance and crews need rest, the math of patrol requires 3 submarines. As this cycle shows, one boat is always on active patrol, while the other 2 are in transit or undergoing maintenance. India reached this 3-boat milestone with the INS Arihant. Larger and more powerful than the earlier models, she carries 8 missile tubes, double the capacity of the Arihant, allowing her to carry up to 24 nuclear weapons deep into the Indian Ocean. Today, India's strategy relies on machines whose entire purpose is to never fire their weapons. A nuclear submarine sits in the dark, silent and watching, making the mathematics of a first strike impossible. It ensures that no matter how perfect an attack might be, there is a boat somewhere that was missed, and it is coming back.